Hiya, Marv.
Nice spring morning.
That sure is.
Hey, ask me how it feels to live next door to a local celebrity.
Oh, knock it off, will you?
Doesn't everybody makes the front page of the Weekly Gazette? That was a nice write-up you got, Frank. Boy, that must have been some school board meeting.
Sure was.
Gosh, I wish I could have been there, but we had a special executive committee meeting at the plant I just couldn't duck out on.
Well, it was jam-packed. Everybody on the prod.
Why all the hullabaloo?
Well, what really turned the meeting into an uproar, the argument about the driver training course touched off the high school parking lot proposal. Then to top that, the people who want the hot rod drivers to have a supervised drag strip, they jumped into the act with both feet. Now we've got a great big fat merry-go-round.
Well, from everything I read and hear, they're all looking to you to call the signals and carry the ball. How'd you come to get mixed up in this ruckus anyhow?
Well, Hazel got me started, I guess. A short while ago, she was elected chairman of the PTA committee to study school traffic. Well, she's been talking over her problems with me. So the other night, we went to this big school board meeting. I'm not much of a speech maker, but, well, I got up and blew off a little steam.
According to the paper, you blew the lid.
Well, you know how Stan Hunter is. He likes to have a lively paper. And what I said agreed with what he thinks, so he just played it up big.
Uh-huh. Well, I gotta be deep. I'll see you, Frank.
I'll have my license, maybe my own car by next summer. We'll have a drag strip by then, won't we?
Well, I doubt it so soon, son, if we're going to have one. Right now, people are just talking about it.
Daddy, what is a drag strip?
Just like a girl.
Well, honey, it's an officially supervised runway or track with special rules and regulations where hot rod drivers can race their cars against time.
The police department's been talking one up for a couple of years already.
First things first, Greg.
Well, my gosh, don't the police know what ought to come first?
Greg, we need driver training and adequate parking before anything else.
You sure fixed me up, taking me to that school board meeting the other night.
Well, as I recall it, you invited yourself along. And I certainly didn't see anyone twisting your arm when you stood up and sounded off.
What's more important than keeping teenagers from getting killed? Look what happened to those 2 carloads of kids just the other night.
Daddy, did you line up a truck yet for our paper drive? It's only a week from Saturday.
I know it, honey. I'll take care of it.
Dad, how soon will we know if the Chamber of Commerce is going to put up the dough for our softball uniforms?
Greg, I told you I'd bring it up at the next meeting, and I will.
Can you arrange for a bigger truck than last time?
What? Oh, well, I'll do what I can. Beggars can't be choosers, young lady.
Okay, kids, you may be excused.
Bye-bye.
Don't forget, Frank, we're going to PTA tonight.
Well, that'll depend upon how things go at the station, Hazel.
Well, you're one man in town who better be there. We're expecting a big turnout to air all these driving problems. Now, if we can get the whole PTA pushing for these things, we're in. Then the school board will have to go along. Hey, hadn't you better get a move on, lover boy?
Bye-bye, honey. Oh, honey, I almost forgot. We're playing cards with Doc Stratton Saturday night. I saw him yesterday. Martha will probably call you this afternoon.
Okay, dear. Oh, Frank, don't forget to stop by the bank sometime today and check that statement.
Howdy, folks. Fill her up with Power X? Yes, thank you. Well, Radio, what do you say we get out and stretch a little?
Incidentally, if we're going to take your client and his wife to dinner tonight, we'd better start off the best restaurant around here.
Hey, I'm glad you reminded me about that, dear. Excuse me, folks. You might get a reservation at the Fair Oaks if you call yet this morning. Terrific food. Just a spot to splurge a little. Oh, thank you very much. We could phone right from here, dear.
Let's give it a whirl.
Right. Say, where is this place? Well, it's off the main roads. Most people miss it passing through. Well, it sounds just like the kind of place we're looking for. Oh, say, and one other thing. Much obliged to you. Come in again.
Bye.
Bye. Sinclair Service. This is Frank. Howdy, Doc. Hold it. Woody, drop that and get over to Doc Stratton's right away. He's got a call and he can't get his car started.
Righto.
He'll be there in a jiffy, Doc. That's a pleasure anytime. So long. Well, say, Doc, you wait right... Hey, Woody!
Yeah.
If the doc's still there waiting and you can't get it started, take it where it wants to go and then go back and fix it.
Righto.
Just lucky I happened to see you over there at the teller's counter, Frank. Vic and I were just talking about you.
Hi, Vic.
Hello, Frank.
Selling many cars this month?
Oh, we'll keep you in business, don't worry.
Well, what's on your minds?
About this school business, Frank. You don't intend to let yourself get seriously involved, do you?
The way that Stan Hunter wrote up your speech in his newspaper, you got a lot of folks steamed up, yelling for action.
Folks pay attention to you, Frank. You've done a lot for this town. Your work with the development committee and such things.
The way you fellas talk, it's a cinch you've got something up your sleeves. What is it?
Progress is wonderful, Frank, in due course. But we've got to face the fact it costs money. This driver's training course is going to cost quite a bit more to operate per student than an average high school class.
And it'll prevent a great many more deaths and maimings than the average class.
We don't know that.
Then why are the insurance premiums lower for the teenager who's had driver training in school? Another thing, it's going to improve the driving habits of a lot of drivers who've been driving for many years.
How do you figure that, Frank?
Well, let's assume that your kids have had driver training, or that your wife has taken the course in an adult education program. What's going to happen if you pull a driver boner in there along with you?
They'll give me the business, but good.
Speaking of business, how about this high school parking lot? We've got to buy the land and pave it. The property around the school comes mighty high.
And gosh knows how much it'll cost to build a hot rod drag strip.
Well, maybe the civic and service groups would chip in on that.
Yeah, but even so, the whole package could cost a bundle of dough.
You're just worried that you'll have to donate the use of a couple of cars for the training program.
Ouch. A low blow.
Look, let's face the facts, Frank. These ideas are all to the good, but they mean more taxes. And we just voted a big increase in the mill levy last year.
Let's not spin our wheels and rush into these things prematurely.
Prematurely? Why, these things are long overdue already. Right along, we're paying the penalty for not having them. Which side are you on, Vic? You own an automobile agency.
But nevertheless, I go along with Lyle. Let's put on the brakes for a while. Hold off on these new improvements for a spell.
While the problems get worse and worse.
Our taxes are already too high right now. Let's face that fact.
This isn't a matter of taxes. It's really a matter of facing up to the times we live in. Of being for or against our kids.
Now, Frank.
Look, the same folks who are always running down the teenagers in the schools are the first ones to balk when there's a chance to remedy some of the problems they're always harping about.
Frank, you think you ought to be personally mixed up in this thing?
What do you mean by that?
Folks might say you've got an axe to grind, a vested interest. Same goes for Vic here.
Well, I have got an axe to grind, but not the way you think. I've seen the results of too many crashes in this town. So has Vic. Maybe he's forgotten. Look, I drive, my wife drives. Soon my kids will be driving. I've got a vested interest, all right, in my family, in this community. I see a crying need for these things.
We all do, Frank. It's just a matter of time and money.
Look, the automobile is here to stay. The problems our cars create have to be faced up to right now. We can't just close our eyes, stick our heads in the sand, and make bad driving, poor traffic conditions, and parking congestion evaporate into thin air. Now let's quit kidding ourselves and get on the ball, World's moving too fast. That's the trouble. Hello, Henry.
Oh, Frank, I want to see you. I say make these kids leave their cars at home and we won't need that parking lot. No need for them to drive. No sense to it. Don't let my kid do it, I'll tell you.
Well, Henry, how are you going to stop the others who drive?
Pass a law. Make them leave their cars at home. And another thing, this drag strip idea of yours is going too far. A racetrack for young hot rod maniacs. It's the limit. The utter ridiculous limit.
One thing for sure, Frank. Let's push hard for that drag strip. We got the mayor and Judge Bartlett behind it 100%.
I know, I've talked to him. Don't you think we ought to have a high school parking lot first?
Well, that jam up around there does create a perpetual headache.
Oil's low, Chief.
Better put in a quart. That triple X there. Maybe that driver training course should come last. Why make more drivers before we take care of the problems we already got?
Folks are going to learn how to drive one way or the other, Chief, especially the young people. Now, is it better that they learn in the training course or hit and miss on the road?
Boy, when they hit. Let's make sure we finally get that drag strip, that's all.
You said it.
It has been overwhelmingly approved that the members of this PTA, both as a group and individually, will take all possible action to get the school board to include a car-equipped driver training course in our curriculum by the beginning of next term. It is so ordered. It's my pleasure to say, on behalf of this PTA, that we certainly appreciate Mr. Vic Thompson's generous offer to donate the services of a training car. And we certainly hope that Mr. Frank Morris will give the same kind of influential push to the projects coming up that he has in the promotion of this one.
Well, now that we've got this ad schedule all set, I can line up the direct mail and the new campaign point-of-sale stuff to tie in with it.
Frank, about this high school situation. How far are you willing to carry the ball?
Well, thanks to you and your write-ups, me and my big mouth, I'm in up to my neck already.
The PTA decision last night makes the driver training course a foregone conclusion. The school board will have to approve it now. Are you willing to see the rest of the program through?
What are you driving at, Stan?
We want you on the school board, Frank. We've got the nominating petitions all set and ready to go. We figure you're a cinch.
Now, wait a minute. Who's this we that's got everything fixed already?
Plenty of people who appreciate what you've done and like the way you operate.
Stan, I'm mixed up in too many activities already. I've got a business and a family to look out for. They come first. I just don't have the time for it.
I've got an editorial all written and typeset for my next issue, promoting you for the school board.
Just like that, huh? Without even asking me. Well, I wouldn't bother to print it if I were you.
Look, Frank, I decide what goes in my paper. Just like you, I push hard for whatever I think's best for our town. You're just as good as nominated already.
Well, the way things stand, you're just as good as declined already.
Oh, now, wait a minute, Frank.
Now, if you want to put my ads on your editorial page...
Go on, get out of here.
One thing in Frank's favor, everybody in town knows him, sure enough.
That's beside the point. Look, I like Frank. He's a good egg. Hard-working, honest, cooperative. Runs a top-notch station. But just let's face the fact. He's just not qualified for the school board.
That's right.
Not qualified. Look, Vic, a good school board member has to manage a lot of things. Money, people, buildings, equipment.
That's right. We need a man with all-round management ability.
Everybody knows Frank, huh? He's not qualified. Maybe you fellas don't know him. By your own definitions, he's probably a lot better qualified than any of us.
That's ridiculous.
You're talking through your hat, Vic.
No, I'm not. To start off with, Frank's a business manager, operations manager, and production manager all combined. He guides every function of his business, personally. While in the bank you manage one department. Are you trained right now to step into every other department manager's job at a moment's notice?
No, of course not.
Well, Frank is. And don't forget, he's the sales manager at his place, and his own best salesman to boot. How many of us personally handle all of those things? He's his own advertising and merchandising manager, too. In your store, Lampert, you have somebody else manage most of these things for you.
My situation is different.
Could be. But both you and Frank are retail merchants. And I'll bet your gross is about the same as his. Frank's the service manager at his place. Chief troubleshooter, too. I employ a service manager at my automobile agency. He does his own purchasing, manages his own stock and inventory, does his own accounting and bookkeeping. Williams, you're the controller out at the plant. How many other kinds of managing are you qualified to do?
Well, there's quite a few I'm not qualified to do.
You have personnel and training managers out there at the plant. Frank hires and trains his men himself in person. He's his own plant maintenance manager, too. He's personally on top of every phase of his operation. How many kinds of a manager does a man have to be to qualify for the school board around here?
Maybe we don't know Frank as well as we thought we did.
And another advantage that Frank has over most of us. He has a company that keeps him right up to the minute in every phase of business management.
Well, it looks like I'm the one who's got to face the facts. I've been selling Frank short.
We all tend to take other people and the things that they do for us for granted. For instance, dozens of times a day, Frank and his men help somebody who's in a spot. Take care of all kinds of little personal emergencies that crop up. And plenty of times a day, they direct tourist business into other places all over town. Another thing, you entrust the care of your car that you and your family's safety depends upon every day of your lives to men like Frank. Yet you take Frank and his service completely for granted and fuss about his being good enough to run for the school board.
Well, that just leaves one thing wrong with Frank.
What's that?
He says he won't run for the school board.
Just perfect, thank you, Lyle. Don't Martha and Steve give the nicest parties?
Yes, I always enjoy coming over.
Oh, you mean the one about
Much easier that way.
Well, you know, Martha, you and Doc always make everybody feel so much at home.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you all here. Can't I get you something?
No, thanks, just fine.
Lovely.
Hazel, how do you feel about Frank running for the school board? I want him to do what he thinks is best. We've always done real well on his judgment.
We sure need another good man on the board.
My man is a mighty good man.
Hey, Frank, you hear that? You can't decline now. Any man who'd back away from anything after that.
Well, we must be pretty hard up for candidates if we scratched all the way down to me.
That's not true, and you know it.
Modesty ceases to be a virtue when you overdo it, Frank.
The school board needs another merchant with your business head and eye to the future. It's as simple as that.
How do you stand, Lyle?
You run for the school board, we'll support you all the way.
Well, Frank, where does that leave you? Running for the school board, I guess.
Well, let's all have another cup on that.
Don't answer it, Doc. It may go away.
Better get on your horse, Doc.
I'll get it, dear. Hello? This little black bag all packed, Doc?
You ever tempted to cut the phone wire, Martha?
What doctor's wife isn't?
Yes, he's here. It's your turn this time, Frank. Oh, thanks. Thank you. Oh, yes?
That's a big gray toolbox all packed, wise guy?
Somebody's got car trouble.
But how do they know Frank was here?
Yes, I know where it is. Just north of the underpass.
That's right, close to the Wilkinson farm. We're all right, nobody hurt. Sorry to bother you. How soon can you get here?
You go back to your car. Leave your lights on. Sit tight and don't fret. I'll be there with the tow truck in about 20 minutes.
What's happened, Frank?
Car blew a tire, went off the road. Got stuck in some soft shoulder.
Why don't you send one of your men out?
It's my turn this time.
But can't it wait till morning?
If you were out there and he said you'll have to wait until morning, how would you feel?
I'm sorry, honey. Thanks very much, Martha.
Well, we're sorry you have to go.
Yes.
Wonderful. Easy, don't you run along. Stay, somebody else will take you home.
Well, sure, we'd be glad to take you home.
Oh, thanks, Vic. Good night, honey.
Good night, Frank, and good
Take it easy, Frank.
Well, maybe a lot of us don't know Frank. And all the Franks in the many thousands of service stations all over America. But we do know the job they're doing in their communities is an important one. And the service they render to the families of America is seldom equaled in any other industry.